Wow. So good. Perfect. So epic. Now let's make a creamy miso prawn pasta. I'm going to start off here by doing a lemon pan grattato. What's a pan grattato? It's just a fancy word for breadcrumbs. Okay, so start off by toasting your panko breadcrumbs in a pan with some olive oil.
Then add some salt.
Once your panko breadcrumbs are really lovely and golden, now you can start to add in the other flavorings. So you want to put in a mixture of chopped parsley and coriander, also some lemon zest. Mix all of that together, and this is going to add a really beautiful flavor and texture component to your pasta at the very end. Now we're actually doing the pasta, and my really big technique tip here is you need to get your water boiling and your pan going at the same time. So I've got my water here, I'm going to add my linguine, and then I'm going to cook the pasta sauce while that pasta is cooking. So heat the oil and butter in a pan, and then before the butter is melted, I want to add the garlic in, because of course we are doing garlic prawns in this video. Then we're adding, you might have guessed it if you've watched my channel before, miso paste. Add in the prawns and then toss that around, and everything's going to start to look creamy and glossy already. Then you can splash in some wine and some lemon juice, keep tossing the prawns around in there, and then turn off that sauce and wait for the pasta. Once the pasta is al dente, you just scoop out a cup of the pasta cooking liquid and just set that aside. Now use some tongs to transfer the pasta into the prawn and sauce mixture. Add in your pasta cooking liquid and just keep tossing and stirring, and then that liquid and the butter and the oil and everything will start to emulsify and get so unbelievably creamy, even though we haven't added any cream. Now you can just turn the heat off, sprinkle in a little bit more of that coriander and parsley mixture from earlier. Now you can just pile that pasta up into your serving bowls. You need some parmesan here, just give it a really good sprinkle. And now comes our fancy breadcrumbs. Sprinkle those over the top. And I mean, look at that bowl. It just looks amazing. See, the reason you do all of that pan stuff is because the pasta just soaks up all of the flavor. Every little strand tastes like lemony garlic prawns. Ah, so good. Spaghetti and meatballs, here we go guys. One of the big classics, and we're gonna make it even better. My very best spaghetti meatballs. All right, so I guess we should start off by setting a few parameters here. I mean, what are my best spaghetti meatballs? What am I talking about here? Okay, I am talking about the very best, most savory, umami-packed tomato sauce with a few little extra ingredients, of course, because it's my tomato sauce. And then meatballs that are super soft, super savory, and really like kind of light almost in terms of like flavor and texture, and you'll see what I mean. Stay with me guys, this is one epic little meatball and spaghetti journey we're gonna go on. Now I just need some extra virgin olive oil to start. And before that oil gets too hot, I wanna add in my garlic. You really wanna be gentle here, I don't want that garlic to burn. Nice little sizzle, just for a few seconds, and then I'm gonna add in my tomato. Now I like to use whole peeled tomatoes for this. I just think with the whole peeled ones, you kind of get less, they seem less watery to me. I get a better flavor out of them. So that's why I'm using those ones. And then I also want some tomato paste. So there's gonna be a few ingredients here that are all about like umami, savoriness, boosting that kind of really kind of big flavor. Tomato paste is one of them. Tomato paste has those umami compounds that really make everything taste good. So tomato paste. And then the other ingredient that's gonna do the same kind of thing as a tomato paste, but literally like on steroids. Like this stuff is all about umami. And that is miso paste. So not your typical Italian ingredient, but there is method to the madness, everyone. So I'm gonna put that in as well. Honestly, you'll just never make tomato sauce without putting miso paste in once you've tried it, I promise. And the other thing I want to add in here are some special little aromatics. So I've got some star anise, yes, another Asian ingredient, but star anise is one of those spices that kind of makes things taste beefier almost with their fragrance and aroma. So I want those. And because I'm me, you guys know me by now, I'm gonna add a little chili in here. It's not gonna be spicy, super spicy, it's just gonna infuse the sauce with just a little bit of interest. And then a bay leaf as well. And then what we want here is a gentle simmer. I want to let this go for about 30 or 45 minutes. I really want those flavors to develop and get really super intense. Just keep an eye on it though, because whole peeled tomatoes tend to have less liquid than crushed. So just make sure you're not getting any scorching or burning on the bottom. Tend to your tomato sauce nicely, everyone. So while our sauce is doing its thing, we've got plenty of time to do our meatballs. So these meatballs, all about getting the most light, fluffy kind of texture for me. I don't want any kind of hard tennis balls here. So first up, we're gonna do a little panko breadcrumb mush. That's gonna help with the texture. So I want some milk in with my panko breadcrumbs and just give that a mix. And you just wanna let that kind of get mushy, basically, a few minutes. All right, so meat-wise, we're going with a mix of beef and pork. I like that combo because I like the flavor combo. The pork kind of lightens up the beef a little bit. And then I also like the extra fat that the pork adds into the mix. So beef first. And this is not the time to get lean beef, guys. We're not going for a diet meatball dish here. We're going for the best meatball dish here. So a little bit of fat in here is good. And the pork. All right, so next up I'm gonna add some dairy. Now, I'm a big fan of adding in ingredients like ricotta and cheese into my meatballs because one, I like the cheesy flavor, and two, that's gonna help with texture as well. So if you have a look at my ricotta, this is like one of those really firm deli style ricottas. If you can only get that really runny stuff in the packet, use half and add extra breadcrumbs to kind of soak up some of that moisture. So there you go, depends on the kind of ricotta you can get a hold of. All right, so next up, Parmesan cheese. Now, this guy does double duty here. Okay, first off, Parmesan cheese, obviously cheesy, but also Parmesan cheese has that magical thing called glutamates. That's an amino acid that kind of, it's like the savory element. It makes things meatier, more savory, more umami flavored. You guys hear me talking about it all the time. It's just gonna make it taste really good. All right, so by now our panko mix is ready to go and that goes in. All right, so now we want an egg as well. And now for all our flavor bits and pieces. So I want some garlic first up. Now for some fennel seeds. I like to keep them whole because I really kind of like that rustic pop of fennel flavor, but if you want a more kind of refined fennel kind of experience, then you can grind those down. And some freshly grated nutmeg. If you can, guys, use the whole nutmeg and grate it in. You'll find the flavor so much more, I don't know, it's just better, like fresher and more fragrant. And also nutmeg, ricotta and meat, it's like the perfect triple threat. Really good combo. And some parsley as well. Finally, a really good dash of salt here. Like, there's a lot of meat in here, so you want to season this quite aggressively. One more aromatic, almost forgot. You can never have too many aromatics. Lemon zest. So this is another really like secret little thing that I like to add to my meatballs. It makes everything just lighter and brighter and just, it makes it nice, guys. It makes it nice. All right, so try not to overmix here, guys. You really just want everything to just come together and for that ricotta and the breadcrumbs and everything to kind of mix through. And now we're ready to roll our meatballs. All right, so I kind of like my meatballs slightly larger than a golf ball, but smaller than a tennis ball, if that makes sense, kind of in the middle there. I do like a nice, solid, chunky kind of meatball, but totally up to you. You go your own adventure, choose whatever size you like. All right, right, so now these guys go into the oven for around about 20 minutes. What I'm looking for is a really beautiful golden color on the outside. They don't have to be fully cooked through because they're going to cook through in our tomato sauce. Okay, so our tomato sauce currently smelling amazing. Oh, I love that smell of the garlic and the bay leaves and the star anise. All right, now speaking of those aromatics, we want to get them out, obviously, before we use our tomato sauce. So I got the chili and star anise and the bay leaf as well. All right, so let's take a look in here, and you can see that my whole tomatoes have broken down. They're kind of looking all rustic and chunky in there. Now that is looking really, really good. All right, so I can smell these meatballs already in the oven. They are really making me very hungry. Let's have a look and see what they're like. All right, so these are looking really great. I've got just a little touch of color on there, which is what I want to start to get the flavor going. Now I want to finish these meatballs off in the tomato sauce. So I'm going to pop them into a nice wide pan to start with. And now our tomato sauce on top. All right, now just get those meatballs beautifully coated in that sauce. And then I want to put a lid on and just let all of those ingredients make friends in there for about 5-10 minutes. So in the meantime, you'll want to cook your spaghetti, and I am in total agreement with the Italians on how to cook pasta. Plenty of boiling salted water, and don't, whatever you do, overcook those noodles. All right, my spaghetti is almost ready. I'm going to save a cup of pasta water. Always when you're cooking pasta, save a bit of water. You'll see what I mean for later. And now drain that pasta, get it back into the pot, and we've got to do our final, pasta zhuzhing. You'll see. Hold on. All right, now let's have a look at these meatballs. Oh, look at that. I mean, does anything get any more beautiful? Look at those meatballs, should be perfectly cooked now, nice and juicy, and then some of those meaty juices have gone into our tomato sauce as well. Oh, I cannot wait to eat this. Now, I'm a little pedantic about the way I like to do my pasta. I like each pasta strand to have a beautiful amount of sauce with it. So I'm gonna get a little bit of my sauce, put it in with the spaghetti, and give that a really good mix. Now here's where the pasta water comes in. I'm just going to kind of loosen everything up in here with a bit of that, and the starchiness in the water is going to help to thicken everything and make it kind of sticky and glossy. And just keep that on the heat. So the heat and the pasta water and the tomato sauce, they're all doing magical things in there, friends. And now without any further faffing, let's get this stuff out onto a plate. And now of course we need our meatballs. And a really good lashing of cheese. And there you go, friends. Not the most traditional spaghetti meatballs, but the very best spaghetti meatballs I know how to make anyway. Let me just make sure. That tomato sauce, the flavor is so intense. It's so epic. Oh, let's have a look at this meatball. It literally just melts. It melts, but then you're getting a little bit of cheesiness. You really can tell that you've got that hint of lemon in there, which is just beautiful. The whole thing. It just really is great, guys. Oh, epic. This is the spicy, garlicky tuna pasta that pasta dreams are made of. And did I forget to mention egg pawn? Check out the egg pawn. This is my spicy pantry pasta with crispy egg. I mean, wow. Okay, Okay guys, so we are gonna make the most amazing pantry pasta. That's right, a few pantry essentials, some tuna, some pasta, a few Asian ingredients, of course, because you guys know how much I love fusion pasta. But first of all, we are gonna make the crispiest deep fried egg because, you know, just because it's a pantry dish doesn't mean it can't be nice. Make it nice, people. All right, let's start off with the egg first of all. And poaching eggs, very simple. I'm gonna start off with some vinegar here. The ratios here aren't too important. I mean, I've probably got about 4 or 5 cups of water here. I've put in about half a cup of vinegar. Now, egg, I'm just gonna break that into a small bowl first of all. Right, now just make yourself a little whirlpool in here. Pour that egg into the center. And that guy should form into a perfect little poached egg all on its own in there. Like to make sure that egg releases from the bottom. Now you want these just set but still nice and runny in the middle, so I like to do these for about 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, so this is what you're looking for here, a nice little bouncy bounce on that yolk. You can tell it's still nice and soft. Just drain it on some paper towel. Now to crumb these guys, we're gonna do a very standard crumbing procedure here. I just want an egg. And now you want flour, egg, and then breadcrumb. And I'm using panko breadcrumbs here because I like how crispy and light they are. So into the flour. And then the egg. And then the breadcrumbs. And then just leave those until the end. We're gonna come back and deep fry them after we've cooked our pasta. So I'm gonna do the pasta saucy part first. And I just wanna start off with some good extra virgin olive oil. And some garlic. And then I'm using some dried red chilies because I always have dried red chilies in my pantry because of the Asian food that I cook. And I've just been soaking them in a little bit of warm water, and I'm just going to squeeze them out and then chop them straight into my pan. Now my other pantry essential for this dish is some canned tuna. And I always go for canned tuna in extra virgin olive oil because I find that it has the best kind of flavor and it doesn't kind of mess up my sauce because I'm just putting olive oil into olive oil, which is good. So I just flake that in, and I kind of like to leave it a bit chunky. I like to have chunky bits of tuna. And now here's the part where you tell all your Italian friends to look away. I'm gonna add in some oyster sauce. And really the oyster sauce just gives you a really beautiful umami saltiness in the pasta. And it actually goes really well with the Parmesan cheese. So the Parmesan cheese has that same kind of saltiness and savoriness. It's the same kind of flavor profile. It kind of boosts the cheesiness. And then a little bit of soy sauce as well. Now I just want to sizzle that for, you know, a couple of minutes, just allow all those flavors to make friends in there. And now I'm going to turn that heat right down so it's just sort of keeping warm on the stovetop. And now we're going to cook the pasta. So I'm using angel hair pasta here, and this one will cook in like 2 minutes flat. So you really need to be vigilant here. There's nothing worse than overcooked pasta. The Italians and the Asians can agree on something. Noodles should never be soggy. All right, now I need a good pinch of salt into my boiling water here. Add your pasta in. Obviously you can do this with spaghetti or linguine as well. just as that pasta becomes soft, and I mean it's still very al dente here, I'm going to put it straight into my pan. Pasta is all about timing, guys, and finishing it in the pan means it's going to soak up all that flavor, get nice and creamy. You'll see what I mean. So turn the heat back on, and you want to be tossing and turning that pasta in that sauce until it's beautifully glossy and shiny and delicious. I'm going to add in a little bit of that pasta water, because pasta water has some starch from the pasta in it, which is going to make things luscious and creamy again as well. Turning, and look at that, like magic, it gets all luscious. Now we've got to be quick here. I want to get that pasta straight out onto a plate. And I want some cheese on top. And I guess technically this is not a pantry ingredient because I do keep my Parmesan in the fridge, but sue me. And no, I haven't forgotten about our crispy egg. This is our little garnish to do at the end here. I'm just gonna add that egg into some hot oil. Literally will take 2 minutes. I don't want to overcook it because I want it to be nice and soft in the center. And just drain that egg on some paper towel first, and then pop him onto your pasta plate. Final little sprinkling of some chili flakes. And there you go, guys. One of the most magical things to come out of my pantry. Definitely. Let's have a look at that egg. Now that is pure magic. Some egg and some pasta. I mean, wow. Just look at the smile on my face. That is so good. That creamy, crispy egg, and then the pasta is so savory, spicy, and that little hint of tuna and the cheese, and it's like the ultimate plate of pasta. Kimchi Carbonara. Okay, so we are making carbonara a traditional style. Don't come at me in the comments just yet. We're not using cream, we're doing the egg and the cheese thing and the pasta water, but I'm gonna add in some kimchi because I really love the kind of funky umami-ness you get from kimchi. Okay, let's get our pasta going first of all, and I am gonna add some salt into my water here. A lot of salt. I want my pasta to be beautifully seasoned as it cooks. Now I've got my spaghetti. Okay, so while that spaghetti is going, we've got a few things to do here. First of all, I want to get my cured pork kimchi business kind of going on. So I've got a little bit of olive oil I'm going to put in this pan. And look, my preference is to use guanciale for carbonara. I actually couldn't get any today at my market, so I'm using speck instead. But I think the point is you want nice big chunks of your cured pork, not sort of like little thin bits of bacon. Now I want to get these pieces sizzling in the oil, releasing all of their yummy pork fat. I mean, that's really the essence of a carbonara for me. You've got that beautiful porkiness and the creamy, cheesy egg kind of sauce. So now for the not so traditional. Here is my kimchi, and I want to finely chop these pieces. Now you could kind of tone down the funkiness by adding less. You could dial up the funkiness by adding more. I think around about kind of half a cup is a good measure of kimchi. Now you can see that I'm starting to get some really lovely little bits of color going on in that pan. So now I'm going to add in that chopped kimchi. Okay, so I just want a few minutes in here with the heat on, just so like that, you know, tasty, salty kimchi kind of makes friends with all that pork fat going on in there. So what I can do now while I'm waiting for my pasta and for my pork mixture to cool down is the eggs and the cheesy business. So I like to do a mixture of whole eggs and egg yolks. I think that makes things a little more richer. Now, just 3 whole eggs and then the 2 egg yolks. Just give those a mix. And now the cheese. So I'm using Parmigiano, and you just want to add a very generous amount. Okay, mix that cheese through. Now, because this is a really simple dish, I think each little detail can make all the difference. So I'm using pepper here, but I've freshly ground it so you get that really nice, lovely hit of fresh pepper. Okay, so my pork mixture here is nice and cool, and that is about the right timing for my pasta, it seems, because that is beautifully cooked, just al dente, so it's still a little bit of cooking to go. And I want that to happen in the saucepan because I want the pasta to finish cooking and soak up the sauce as it goes. Okay, so my pan is nice and cool, so adding these eggs shouldn't result in a scrambled mess. And now we exercise some patience. So I'm just gonna keep swirling this around a little first. And then I'm gonna put the heat on very low. So I don't want this to happen too quickly. I just want things to get nice and sticky and shiny and luscious without scrambling. I do wanna use some of this pasta water as well. So the pasta water kind of adds a bit of seasoning as well because it's a little salty, but it kind of gives you a little bit of that starchiness. So the pasta water and the oil and the fat and the cheese and the eggs, it's kind of what gives you your sauce. So keep stirring. Don't be tempted to go too high on that heat. Now this can take anywhere up to 5 minutes depending on how low and slow your heat is. You can turn it up, but you know, just be a little careful. Okay, so now we're starting to see that magic happen. See how that sauce is thickening up and it's getting all glossy and quite tight, like there's not much loose sauce going on there in the bottom of the pan. Now pasta will wait for no man or woman, so make sure you serve it up straight away. A little bit of cheese, or a lot of cheese, whatever you like. Just a little smattering of spring onions, and there you go. Kimchi Carbonara. Oh, that looks so luscious. I am very excited. Pork and kimchi, like it was made to go together. You've got so much going on there. The kimchi, the salty pork, and that beautiful pasta. You know, when you treat something as humble as spaghetti with a lot of respect, and you get it in that pan and you let it slowly do its thing and soak up that sauce, it makes a world of difference. Perfect.